A simple way to remember what we need to do for UV protection is seen on the CDC and American Cancer Society's websites, and that includes slip, slop, slap, and wrap. So slip on a shirt or covering of clothing, slop on some sunscreen, slap on a hat, and wrap around those eyes so that we have that protection. The next part is slop on some sunscreen. So we need to talk about sunscreen, what that really means, how to use it, to make sure you're using it appropriately. So sunscreen is a product that you put on your skin to protect it from the sun's UV rays. Sunscreen is just a filter. It's not going to protect you 100%. It's just another layer. So ideally inside or shade layer means with clothes, and then sunscreen as well as another layer of protection. Sunscreen is not ideally just to say, well, this means I can be in the sun longer. We still want to use those other preventative techniques that we've talked about. And again, you want to use your sunscreen properly. Make sure you're getting the right kind of sunscreen. Sunscreens now come in many forms. There's lotions, creams, ointments, gels, sprays, wipes, lip balm, to name a few. A lot of times the lips are neglected. We don't remember to put on lip balm with sunscreen, so that's something that you need to really particularly pay attention to. Also, a lot of times when you're using cosmetics, your moisturizers, foundation, powders might also have a sun protection factor rating in them as well. So that's something that if you're going to spend a lot of time outside, you might want to be checking into also. When selecting a sunscreen, you want to make sure that you're doing your homework and make sure that you're purchasing products that are going to be labeled appropriately, that you know have the testing done to make sure they're going to provide the protection that you need. So ideally, a sunscreen that's going to be labeled as a broad spectrum sunscreen or be specifically labeled for UVA and UVB protection. Again, you're going to get both wavelengths coming through the ozone. Even though UVA is in more abundance, UVE is more harmful, so we want to make sure that we're getting protection from both. There are sunscreens out there that will be labeled specifically for UVB protection, but may not have anything rated for UVA protection, so you need to make sure that you're looking into that. When you purchase a sunscreen, for it to be labeled broad-based or broad spectrum sunscreen, it has to be able to protect against both. The next thing is the sun protection factor. For a sun protection factor 15 or less than 15, products are now required to carry a label stating that they do not protect against UV sun's rays, which does not protect against cancers, aging, or damage. So you need to have a minimum of SPF 15 rating to even offer any protection at all. Ideally, you want an SPF of 30 or greater. So let's talk about what that really means. An SPF of 30 primarily means that with that product applied appropriately in the right amount, it will give you sun protection factor in 30 minutes of sun exposure that will now equate to you of having the equivalency of 1 minute of unprotected UV ray exposure. So 30 minutes is equal to 1 minute of UV ray exposure. If you're out in the sun for 60 minutes with the SPF of 30, it means that that's going to be equivalent to having 2 minutes of UV unprotected exposure. So you get the idea. Also, the increase in the rating of the sun protection factor does not automatically mean that that number doubles. So let's talk about what that really equates to. So you can find products that are available now that you can get a sun protection factor as high as 100 or greater. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to offer you 100% guaranteed coverage of not having any UV damage, or that you're not going to be increased risk from the harmful effects from having the sun exposure or UV damage. So a SPF of 15 will protect about 93% of UVB rays. An SPF of 30 will filter out about 97% of UVB rays. An SPF of 50 will protect or filter out about 98% of the UVB rays. And an SPF of 100 will filter out about 99%. Difference as the higher you go becomes very small. So again, having a product with at least a 30, you're still getting 97% of the sun's rays. Again, no sunscreen is ever going to protect you completely, so take that in consideration when you're looking at the product that you're purchasing. Some of them are chemical compounds that will inhibit the UV rays traveling through the skin. Other ones might be more of a reflective barrier that is reflecting the rays off of the skin. Sunscreens are no longer allowed to be labeled waterproof or sweatproof because this is going to be misleading. They have to carry a labeling of water resistance or sweat resistance. And then they also have to state for how long you have protection for. So usually that's going to be listed as somewhere between 40 and 80 minutes. The other thing is you need to make sure you're checking the expiration date on your sunscreen. If the sunscreen product is more than 2 to 3 years old, it's probably not going to have the same chemical integrity as when you first bought it, which is not going to offer you the same protection that you think it's going to be offering you when you use that. The other thing is a lot of times the chemicals may settle in the product as time goes on, so make sure that you shake the bottle up to remix the sunscreen ingredients. And depending on where you store your sunscreen at, if you're leaving it outside for a prolonged period of time, such as in your boat, and it's been sitting out in the heat, the chemicals may be degrading, and so it may not even last as long as expiration. You might want to replace that sooner so that you make sure you're getting the protection that you really need. So I'm going to show you a couple of products that I personally use for my family. In my family, we spend a lot of time outdoors. We like to go boating. My kids play soccer and they like to go bike riding, and so they're exposed to the sun a lot. We also do a lot of swimming. So I try to use products that I hope that they're going to be willing to use because they like the products. My family particularly likes to use spray-on sunscreen. I personally prefer a lotion, even though it's more difficult to apply. I can usually tell where I have it on and make sure that I have a good layer applied. So here's a couple of products that I've purchased that I know my kids will usually use. I'm not necessarily endorsing any product. I'm just showing you that these are products that we have tried and that we've liked, so we continue to use them. The first one is Copper Tone Sport. Again, because we spend a lot of time around the water, or what we're doing a lot of time involves sweating. This is a great product. It does have a broad spectrum, so again, UVA, UVB, and on this one it specifically even states that on there, UVA and UVB. This one has SPF of 50, so again, it's not going to be 100%, but it's going to be the majority of the UV rays. Again, this would still require to be reapplied every 2 hours, or more frequently depending on how much time we're spending in the water. If you're going to be in the water quite a bit and get out of the water, you need to reapply when you get out of the water. This one does have a water resistance labeling. This one states 80 minutes, so it should be good in the water for up to 80 minutes. But again, if you're getting in and out frequently, you might need to reapply a little bit more frequently. Again, this one is really nice because it just sprays on really easily, has a light coat. Sometimes it does feel a little bit oily when we put it on. But this has been a really good product for our family. The next one that we've started using this year, Alba Botanica Hawaiian sunscreen. I particularly like this one because it has a coconut smell to it versus the other sunscreen, which has a little bit more of just a chemical smell to it. Again, a very similar product. It is a broad spectrum, so it has both the UVA and UVB protection with an SPF of 50. It also is labeled water resistant, and again is labeled for 80 minutes. The nice thing with this one, depending on personal preference, if you're a green-minded person, this one specifically states a reef safe, a biodegradable, no animal testing, and it's all natural fragrances. So that's another nice option. Here is a lotion version of that that I got to particularly put on around our face with SPF of 45. This one has more of a green tea smell versus the coconut, but otherwise the same factors listed with being water resistant for up to 80 minutes with both broad spectrum UVA and UVB coverage. This last product I want to show you is one that I've also used for years. I really love this product. I use it a lot under my foundation for my makeup. This is not one that you can find over the counter. This has to be purchased through physicians' offices who carry this product line, and this is SkinCeuticals Ultimate UV Defense. This has an SPF of 30. It is broad spectrum for both UVA and UVB. I really love this product because it is a barrier sunscreen with zinc oxide in it, and it has just a really nice feel about it. When you put it on, a really nice sheen, so I can wear it on my face. It's light, but it has a good reflection underneath my foundation when I put it on, so it helps to reflect light, and it just gives a really nice glow to the skin. You want to make sure when you use sunscreen that you read the label and follow the instructions. Don't be skimpy on your sunscreen. Make sure you have good coverage everywhere. For a lotion or cream, a 1 ounce amount of sunscreen is typically enough to cover for most adults your face, ears, neck, arms, and legs. So 1 ounce is going to be about the amount in the bottom of a shot glass, or about the amount of a palm full. It's 30 cc's. So make sure that you're getting enough to cover well. If it's not enough, apply more. Make sure you get that good coating on everywhere. Again, sunscreen should be reapplied frequently. For most products, it's going to need to be reapplied about every 2 hours. And if you're going to be layering sunscreens with other products, as I mentioned with the SkinCeuticals product, I frequently wear that underneath my makeup. The sunscreen is going to go on before your makeup. If you're going to be using a product with an insect repellent, you want to make sure that you apply the sunscreen first and then the insect repellent product over the top of that.